What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Jared's Books. I am Jared and suffering with a bunch of allergies because it's monsoon season in Houston, Texas, where it has rained every single day for the last month and a half, and the grass pollen is out of control. So, I actually just scratched the last video because I had a sneezing attack in the middle of it. If I start in this one, I'm just going to cut it out and we'll kind of have like a little split on it. So, I wanted to talk about a book today that I really thought was going to be awesome because I really enjoy fantasy. I really enjoy medieval stuff. And this is supposed to kind of merge the two together. And the book I'm talking about is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Before I start breaking this book down and why I did not like it, you got to give the cover art some serious props. It's pretty badass, which I think has a lot to do with its popularity for random people just picking it up. So the book is about 430 pages. The font on it's pretty good. It's a little bit larger than normal. It's also a different kind of text um, font than most books. I don't know if anyone can see that, but it's a little bit different. You are following in this book three protagonists: a young girl, Delphine, that has a religious urge to get to Paris, um, and is accompanied by a disgraced knight, Sir Thomas, and then a disgraced priest. And this is all taking place during the plague that happened back in the medieval Renaissance time frame in France. And there's supposed to be it's not just the plague, it's like an end of days kind of scenario where hell is actually like opening up from the earth and devils and demons are escaping and doing battle and stuff like that. And then Delphine is kind of maybe possessed by some kind of angel or something. It's a cool premise. The main problem I have with this book is, well, I have two or three. The story does not follow a linear story progression. Every chapter, which there's over 40 chapters, is an individual episode of their trek to get Delphine to Paris. So there's a problem with that, and it wouldn't be a problem if the chapters were to kind of pick up somewhat close to what the previous chapter. You just don't have any idea of where it's picking up. And Christopher Buehlman's writing style is it's when he's trying to build where he's at in the story, it's real annoying. He always starts each chapter like in a situation, but it goes on too long and you're completely alienated of what's going on, and then he kind of backfills it and describes where you got to. He just does it very poorly in the book, and that's for over 40 chapters of that. Second, in the afterword of the book, Christopher Buehlman thanks a lot of people that helped him do a lot of research with medieval times, the weaponry, the history of France during the Renaissance and medieval times and the plague. So he put a lot of research into the book to be able to for it to be as historically accurate as possible for that time frame. The problem with that is he went way over the top. Whole sections of chapters are French battles that happened, French nomenclature, French wording. He went way too in depth with it to where if you're not a medieval French scholar, you're going to feel alienated in the book. And I did. I found myself reading whole sections of chapters like, come on, are we almost done with this? Like, it would go on and on and on. And every single chapter was like that to a certain extent. And it just made jargon, it was just French Renaissance history jargon. So that 99% of people are not going to get. So it kind of made you feel alienated. Like, it's not that you didn't know what was going on, it was just that the way it was being described was not good. Um, Another problem I had with the book is his world building abilities. I did look up how other people felt about this book, and I got a lot of people praising like the world and atmosphere building for the plague time, and uh, I just don't I thought he did an okay job of that. Um, some people knocked it for being like overly depressing. It wasn't at all. If you're depressed by something like this, Jesus, don't read like Pet Cemetery or any of that other stuff that's actually depressing, because this book wasn't depressed. If he was going for that feel, like a doom and dread and despair feel, he missed the marker, which I think that's what he may have been trying to do, but he missed it. Um, in some of his fantasy and horror depictions, which there is some grotesque horror described in this book, it it comes off like it's trying way too hard to be grotesque and have elements of horror dashed into it, which at sometimes really made those scenes feel cartoonish. Um, I mean, like, it just even for like a fantasy book, it just couldn't be taken seriously. The characters didn't progress that much at all, actually. I think you had one really good character development over time, which was Sir Thomas, the disgraced knight, who starts developing a moral compass along the way. Everyone's heard that story a lot. That's kind of what his story was, and it was okay. I liked him. The only problem with that is it's cliche. It's been done 1,000 times. And in some of my earlier videos, I had started reading this book. I'd read like maybe 10, 20 pages and put it down for another book. And I mentioned that the the two main protagonists in this, Delphine the girl and then the disgraced knight Sir Thomas, it had the exact same relationship as the Hound and Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, like to a T, like it was written by the same person, kind of. And it just seemed very unoriginal. And I was like, okay, maybe they'll move away from that and their relationship will develop and progress into something else. It didn't. Both characters stayed the exact same. Excuse me. I'm not even gonna empty this or restart it. It wasn't original. That story's been done, and Game of Thrones did a lot better than this. So really missed the mark for me there. And then it's overly long. So this book is 430 something pages, 436. This thing could have been 300. There are multiple chapters in here that go off onto tangents of like side stories for secondary and third characters, and it goes way in depth. And again, with like the French like historical factor thrown in there, it just didn't tie into the book well. The whole book was a miss. I think I got 100 pages in, and I was in, and then it just went way off the rails, and it never stopped, and it never got better. The book actually climaxes in I would say 2/3 of the way through, and then the actual climax of the book sucks, and is extremely underwhelming. And there was no buildup. There was no suspense buildup to it. And if there was a suspense buildup to it, you couldn't understand it because you were too lost in French history and vocabulary. It's just a miss. Um, this is one of those that just like the puppets in the walls thing, like I'm writing my own novel and I feel very confident about being published because I mean I don't think mine's like the a groundbreaking novel by any means, but it's it's better than this. So, so I don't want to sound egotistical at all, but this was a miss. So I would not recommend Christopher Buehlman's Between Two Fires. If you even if you like fantasy, even if you like medieval stuff, unless you are a French scholar, and unless you, I don't know, man. Some people really like cheeseball, like scenes and stuff. Like it almost seemed like you remember the early like drama TV shows of the early '90s, where you go back and look at them now, like Renegade. When I was a kid, I went nuts when Renegade would come on. And I saw it on our TV the other day and recorded a bunch of it and watched it. You could not pay people to act that bad anymore. This had the same feel. And all of its like fantasy action scenes and its stupid horror moments, it was cartoonish. It was early 90s cheeseball. It was laughable. It wasn't, if this was supposed to be like a serious like this is a horror fantasy like it's not. It was kind of like Ernest Goes to the Renaissance or something. So that's that. I've been thinking about how I'm going to start rating these things. I think a scale of 1 to 10 leaves too much filler or gray area. So I'm going to go back to what I originally did and just do star system. It seems easy. Google does it that way. So it seems a little bit easier to dial things in. I would give this one like 1 star. I wouldn't recommend it at all. It wasn't a good book. I think that the cover art has a lot to do with why it gets purchased. The story does seem cool too if you read the overall description, but it's very misleading. It's the Hound and Arya Stark with some religious fantasy and horror aspects thrown in there. I will say with the horror aspects, when he paints scenes of what is taking place in the towns because of the plague, he did do a good job with that. I thought it was pretty accurate, and it was good. But his main like action sequences where there was fantasy involved were cartoonish and laughable. So 1 star. I do not recommend Between Two Fires. So that's that. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with me, which I like those comments because I like to hear. If you're going to comment and like disagree with my opinion, like have a reason why. It's funny sometimes. It's just like you suck. Like okay, well you suck. How about that? Like you can't provide an argument to why you disagree with me. Well, you suck. Um, to wash myself of this, kind of like what I did with another book that I didn't like, we're gonna go back to some Stephen King. So you all let me know, like, just because I did not like the last third of Doomickey, uh, like everyone flew off the rails. But we're gonna go back to Stephen King with Revival. I picked this up the other day. I already got a couple pages in, but I really just cracked into it. So we'll see how this goes. As always, we come up here, we take a break from work. I am well caffeinated from the last little part of my latte, and we hit play and go ahead and do it. I did do some research on Between Two Fires before I did this, just because I know it was a very popular book for the genre, and I wanted to see some of the other criticisms to what I felt, and I also wanted to see why people like it, but I couldn't really find anything why people liked it. I was just getting very generic commercial descriptions. So if you liked the video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and as always, thanks for stopping by. Keep reading. Talk soon.